activated the power, national public power. In Venezuela, we have 5 constitutional powers forged by the 1999 Constitution: the legislative power, power of the nation, with a proclamation defending the sacred rights of Venezuela in an exercise of its sovereignty, self-determination, and peace. The judicial power of Venezuela activated intensely to all its levels in the Supreme Electoral Tribunal, the Supreme Court, the citizen power taken by the constitutional project of Bolivar 200 years ago, for the Constitution of Bolivia, when the Constituent Congress of Bolivia was called, and he proposed the moral power as the moral as the 4th power, and Chavez retake that idea, and the power of Bolivar was constituted, which is the citizen power, the ombudsman as the great moral power of the country, also gave a strong stance for the people. The electoral power, which was a Bolivar project in 1826 in the Constitution of Bolivia as well, now in a phase of acceleration of the development of what it is, the electoral power, with communal circuits, with the trimestral consultations, with the permanent vote, the permanent decision and of the people, and the executive power, leading the battle of a whole country for the right for peace, sovereignty, and future. This week has been tremendous. It was activated. Well, better said, we cannot say it was activated. I used a word which is it was it underwent an acceleration process and reorganization dynamic process of the defense system of the country, because the defense national system is formed 24 hours of 365 days, is activated for the system of national defense with its combat capacity and armed struggle. We have no rest, that we are deployed in 164 URAs at a national level. We're going to explain what an URA is: deployed, battling with arms, as part of the armed battle of the Venezuelan people against criminal bands, narco gangs, and the fascist conspiration that is prepared from abroad with mercenaries. 164 points of the country permanently. We're going to speak about this. And the power of powers, the power that can it all, the marvelous power that supports peace, consolidated by the popular, military, and police fusion. Saturday and Sunday was impressive. This was an activation week of the power of the nation. When you ask, what's the power of the Venezuelan nation? The power of the nation is the perfect police, military, and people fusion in a single plan and will. So it has been an intense week. Very beautiful things this weekend have happened. Silita couldn't accompany me to the San Juan parish. If there is something beautiful you live, is when you arrive to your neighborhood. Those are my neighbors. There was a song like that. I forgot the lyrics, but there is another one that I really like, which is the group Wood, Madera. Es que ha surgido mi canción y mi pasión, que te manifiesto ahora, y por ahí se va. Y después viene el coro. And like that it goes, and the choir.
todos los barrios unidos vamos a empuñar. Ahora, todos los barrios unidos, con fusiles y misiles, todos los barrios unidos, con Bolívar por delante. Esa visita, Silita, tú no pudiste ir porque sabemos.
Silita, you couldn't go because we know you were on that.
¿Cómo es? X-8.
X-rays. X-ray 8.
Ponlo.
Que te manifiesto ahora con el profundo cantar que tú expresarás con versos y las maracas sonoras. Agarra la tumbadora y vamos a descargar cantándole a todo el pueblo.
The people united, all the neighborhoods united. It has been a presidential week, very beautiful one. Each time we are coming with more power and strength, moving forward to Venezuela. No one have been able to stop it and will never be able to do so. We are going now to the segment Digital Zone with journalist Boris Castellanos. Go ahead. With Maduro más, and myself have been invited to share with the President a review of the most important news of the week. Let's see what you have, Boris. There are great news, which was the militia and the enlistment process, but earlier of this moment there was a press conference of the Estado in which he offered an upgrade of the national defense. The Estado Cabello announced the activation of the Zone of Peace #1 between the states of Zulia and Táchira. That would imply in a first moment the mobilization of 15,000 officials of the defense forces of the country. For those who are watching us and is receiving this news, how would you understand this news? With mayo and a little bit of orégano. I would say this is already, we can say, understandable that Venezuela reinforces its plans. This is a reinforcement of what we have been doing so far with great results, in spite of los portales, social medias, international news medias managed by the economic powers of the imperialism, try to hide the great achievements of our military forces and police forces. It is evident that Venezuela, in all of that zone of Catatumbo, arrived and clean it up. But it is a permanent effort because unfortunately from the Colombian side there are a strong activity, 50,000 hectares of coca leaves, of crops of coca leaves, laboratories of all kinds, armed groups of all colors. That means that as soon as you go through the border to our sister Colombia, our beloved Colombia, and you find everything. If you lose your guard, they get inside, and it is a great corridor that goes through the Catatumbo towards the Maracaibo Lake, our beloved Maracaibo Lake, and upward towards La Guajira, Colombian La Guajira, and crossing to the to the
Aquí no hay
right,
una sola
the
nación
Guajira,
pero está separada
Venezuelan
por
Guajira, but it
los
is
límites
separated by the
de los
limits
países, de los
of our
estados.
countries, of our
¿Qué
states.
se ha hecho?
What has
El
been
día de
done?
ayer,
Yesterday,
me fue presentado
I
por
was
el alto mando militar,
presented by the
policial del
High
país,
Command of the police
y
and
el
military
alto
forces of
mando
the
político me
country,
fue presentado
and the
un plan
High
de
Political
reforzamiento
Command, a
para
plan
echar
of
a
to
andar ya la zona
reinforce,
binacional.
to kick off and start the operations in the
Coordinar lo máximo que se
binational
pueda
zone and
con
coordinate
Colombia,
as
con el
all
cual
that
tenemos
can be
muy buen
possible
nivel de
with
comunicación
Colombia,
en este momento.
to which,
Ya
with
hay una
which we have a
presencia
great
en la
communication
zona de miles
system that
de
is
hombres y
at the
mujeres
moment
de la
thousands
Fuerza
of
Armada Nacional
women and men
Bolivariana,
of
de
the
las fuerzas policiales.
Bolivarian armed
Como tú
forces and the
sabes,
police forces of the
hemos
country. As you know,
incautado,
we have
capturado
seized,
más de
captured
31
over
toneladas de
31
cocaína traída desde
tons of
Colombia, porque
cocaine
en Colombia es que están
brought by
los-
from Colombia. In
los
Colombia, there
sembradíos
are
de hoja de
the
coca.
crops
En Colombia es
of
que
coca
producen la
leaves.
cocaína.
Colombia is the one
Venezuela
that
es
produces the
territorio y
cocaine,
debes saberlo.
and Venezuela is
En
territorial,
todos
and you
los
must
idiomas.
know this in every
En todos los
language,
países.
in every
En el sur,
country,
en el
in the
Caribe,
south,
en
in the
el norte,
Caribbean,
en
in
Europa.
the north, in Europe.
Los expertos lo saben,
The
Lori.
experts know this.
Los expertos de los países
Experts
lo saben.
of the
Venezuela
countries
es
know this.
territorio libre
Venezuela is a
de
free country
Sembradíos de hoja de
of
coca.
crops of
Libre.
coca leaves. Free nation.
Libre de producción de
Fra
cocaína.
free from cocaine production.
Venezuela
And Venezuela
combate y está
battles
derrotando
and is defeating
el porcentaje
the
apenas del 5%
percentage
de
of
la
5%
cocaína
of
colombiana
the
que pretenden
Colombian
pasar
cocaine
por
that
el
they
territorio
intend
venezolano.
to pass through the
De ese
Venezuelan
5%,
territory.
que
From
son
that
400
5%,
toneladas,
which can be 100 tons, 106
Ya
tons
a
already,
esta altura,
at this point, at this moment, we have seized
más de 52
over
toneladas.
52,000,
A
oh,
final
52
de
tons.
diciembre,
At the end of
seguramente se llegará a
December,
70, o
we are
sea,
very sure that we
estoy
are going to
diciendo,
get to
que
70.
son
So
muchos
we are
números,
saying
y yo
it
sé
is
que
a
la
lot of
gente a veces no
numbers,
lo
and
puede
people
digerir.
cannot understand
De toda
so
la
many numbers
cocaína que se
of
produce
all of the
en
cocaine
Colombia
produced in
anualmente,
Colombia annually.
que el gobierno colombiano y el
That the
presidente
Colombian
Petro,
government and President
fuerzas
Petro and the
militares
military
combaten.
forces battle
de toda la cocaína
of
que
all of
lamentablemente se
that
instaló como
cocaine that
modelo
unfortunately
económico
installed as
de
an
la
economic
oligarquía
model
colombiana
of the
durante 30
Colombian
años,
oligarchy for over 30
donde
years,
su
in which
más famoso
its most
representante,
famous
que lo
representative
hicieron después
and was named
este,
after that
influencer
an influencer
la serie de
of
televisión
the
Pablo Escobar
series of
Gaviria.
televisions Pablo
Tú le
Escobar
hablas a cualquiera de
Gaviria. You
Pablo
can
Escobar
speak
Gaviria y
to
sabe
anyone
quién es el tipo.
about Pablo
Luego
Escobar and
vino
they
Álvaro
know
Uribe
who he
Vélez,
is
que era
or
el
who he was.
delfín de
And
Pablo Escobar
afterward,
Gaviria. Él se lo
Álvaro
dijo a mucha
Uribe
gente
Vélez
Estados
was
Unidos.
a fan of Pablo
Había
Escobar. The
personas
United States
colombianas,
has their Colombian
periodistas,
people,
que
journalists,
tuvieron relaciones
who had
profundas con Pablo
deep
Escobar Gaviria
deep
y saben
relations
la relación de Álvaro Uribe Vélez
with
con Pablo
Gaviria,
Escobar
and
Gaviria.
also know the relationship
todo el
between Álvaro
entramado de lo
Uribe
que fue el cártel
and
de Medellín.
Pablo Escobar and the Medellin cartel. The point you want to go through is the map that Diosdado showed earlier this morning, that in the Pacific goes to 85% and Venezuela the other one. That map is very good.
Muy explicativo.
It is very comprehensive. If the 85% goes through the Pacific, why do they send the ships to the Caribbean when there's only 5% running through that zone?
Importante ser
It is very
inteligente y buen
important, it's
periodista.
very intelligent,
Pero yo
and
lo
you're a
que te
good
traía el
journalist, but
proceso
I
histórico,
wanted to take
yo te traía
this
el proceso
process
histórico
to the historical process
fue
of what it was,
la instalación
the
de
installment
una narcoeconomía
of
en
a
Colombia.
narco economy in
narcoestado
Colombia
en
and a
Colombia.
narco state in Colombia.
En el desarrollo,
In the
fíjate, tú desde
development
finales de los 90
of
se habló del Plan
late
Colombia.
90s
De
of
eso
the
hay que
Colombia
hablar.
plan, we need to talk about these
El Plan
bodies
Colombia,
with the new
dícese-
Colombia that
dícese que el
allegedly
Plan
was
Colombia,
the Colombia
en los
plan
gobiernos de Pastrana,
in the governments
en los
of
dos gobiernos de
Pastrana and the
Uribe,
two
en los
governments
dos
of Uribe
gobiernos
and in the two
de
governments
Santos,
of Santos
metió más de
put
supuestamente 20 mil
over
millones de dólares para
20
combatir
million US
los
dollars to
sembradíos
battle
y el
the
narcotráfico.
crops and
El
narco
resultado
trafficking.
se duplicó.
The results,
El
they
número de
doubled.
hectáreas de
The number
sembradíos
of
se duplicó
hectares of
hasta se
crops
triplicó la
doubled
producción de
and
cocaína.
multiplied
Metieron
and
7
tripled.
bases militares estadounidenses. Todo el mundo debe
7
saberlo.
U.S. military bases there are also, were
Yo no sé
also
si en
installed
Estados
under
Unidos
these
quienes
governments. I don't
gobiernan
know
saben
if the
estas
United
cosas.
States government
No sé.
knows about
Siempre
this
tengo el beneficio
information.
de la
I
duda.
always have the benefit of the
mundo debe
doubt.
saberlo.
But everyone needs to know this.
7 bases militares que
7
protestaron.
U.S. military bases.
Las terminó poniendo
They put
Uribe y
them
Santos,
they were put there by
Santos al
Uribe and
final
Santos
terminó
at the end
sirviendo
was
como
serving
instrumento
as
de los
an
gringos, como él me
instrument
decía a
of the
mí.
U.S.
Él me decía a mí,
He
porque
said to
tuvimos
me,
muy buena
because we
relación
had a
de
great
conversación, pues,
relationship
de
of
charla.
of discussions of.
Nosotros ayudamos mucho a Santos
We help
a
a
que se
lot
ganara ese
Santos
premio
for
Nobel de la
that
Paz.
Nobel Prize
Me decía, mire, Nicolás,
was
decía él,
he received. He said to me, "Look,
yo soy
Nicolas,
aliado de los
I am
gringos.
allied of the U.S.
yo
government,
tengo que obedecer, me decía
and I
Santos.
need to obey." Santos
sabe que lo
said
decía.
to me, he knows that
¿Verdad?
he said so to me.
Y al final
And at the
su
end of
gobierno,
his government,
buscó
he
una agresión a
searched
Venezuela
for an
también.
aggression against
Le respondimos
Venezuela. We
contundentemente
answered
y él
with,
destapó que habían instalado ya
strength,
7 bases
and he
militares.
said there were 7 U.S. military
Colombia tiene
bases in
7
Colombia.
bases militares de Estados
Colombia
Unidos.
has 7 U.S. military bases
personal,
with personal
equipos,
equipment,
tecnología.
technology.
Y yo pregunto, si
And I
tiene
ask
7
myself,
bases
if they
militares en
have
Colombia,
7 military
¿por qué
bases
se
in
triplicó
Colombia,
la
why
producción de cocaína
does the
alrededor de todas las bases
production
militares?
of
¿Por qué,
cocaine
Boris?
tripled?
¿Por qué?
Why? How
¿Por
was
qué
that
si
possible?
tuvieron 20
Why,
años
if they had
ocupado
20 years,
Afganistán?
they occupied Afghanistan for
Cuando
20
salen
years. When
huyendo
they
de Afganistán,
ran from
Afganistán
Afghanistan,
había crecido
Afghanistan
1000% la
grew
producción
by
de
1,000% in the
opio
production of
y
opium
de
and
la amapola y
and
opio
amapola.
en Afganistán.
In
Y tenían
Afghanistan,
ocupado con
they occupied
miles
that
de
territory
soldados,
with thousands of
los mejores
soldiers, the
equipos, porque
best
después salieron
equipment,
huyendo y dejaron
because
los
they
equipos.
ran
Ah,
from there and left their equipment behind.
que el mundo y Estados Unidos,
The world and the
la
United
gente en
States, the
Estados
people
Unidos
in
que
the
ya no
United
quieren
States
más
that do not
intervenciones
want more
militares,
military interventions,
cansados
and
de lo que
they are
hicieron en
tired
Vietnam,
of what they
la masacre
did
contra el
in
pueblo de
Vietnam,
Vietnam,
the
que
massacre
salieron
against the
derrotados.
people of Vietnam, in which
Ese
they were defeated.
estadounidense que está cansado
Those
de
U.S.
las
citizens who
mentiras
are
para
tired of the
intervenir en
lies
Irak,
to
de las
intervene
mentiras para intervenir en
Iraq,
Afganistán, de las
Afghanistan,
mentiras para
and the
destruir
lies
Libia
to
y
destroy
separarla.
Libya and separate it,
Esos
tear them
estadounidenses
apart. Those U.S.
piensen
citizens
que
need to think
todo eso que ellos han
that
llamado
all
la
of
guerra contra
what
las
they
drogas
have called the
ha
war
sido,
against drugs
es
have
y
been
será un
and will be
fracaso.
a failure,
Porque ellos primero lo que tienen que
because
hacer es curar
they
a su
first need
sociedad.
to heal that society,
Ellos han enfermado a la
They
sociedad
have
estadounidense.
turn
Y
that
una sociedad
society
con
ill,
mayor
and is
consumo.
the
Lamentablemente
society
lo
with the
digo,
greatest
porque nos duele la
consumption,
humanidad.
because
Es la
humanity
sociedad con
is
mayor
painful
consumo
for us. It's the
de
greatest
drogas de todo
consumer
tipo
of all
en el
kinds of
mundo.
drugs in the world.
Y también
And also,
tienen sus grupos económicos.
they have their
porque es
economic
una pregunta
groups.
también aquí.
Because I
Yo
need
no sé
to
quién entrevista a
ask
quién,
this
pero
question.
una
I don't know
pregunta,
who's
Boris.
interviewing who, but I have a question,
ejemplo,
Boris. For example,
¿Quién produce la cocaína?
who produces cocaine?
Colombia.
Colombia.
¿Por dónde sale la cocaína? El
What
87%
route does the
por el
cocaine
Pacífico colombiano y por
follows
Ecuador.
to leave the country?
¿Y dónde se queda el dinero?
And
Por
80%
eso.
through the Pacific, and another
El
one
8% sale
and
por la Guajira
80%
colombiana y un
lives
5%
through La
tratan de
Guajira in
pasarla por
Colombia, and a
Venezuela y nosotros le
5% that
damos,
try
pero palo y plomo.
to
Palo y plomo.
get them
Y
inside
cae quien caiga.
Venezuela. And we
Sea
are
alcalde,
against
sea
that.
diputado, quien tenga que
And
caer,
those
cae
who
y
need to
falcote.
fall will fall. It doesn't matter if they are mayors or governors or any political position.
El dinero de la venta de esa cocaína, ¿pa'
The
dónde va?
money of that selling of
Son
cocaine,
miles de millones.
we're speaking about thousands of
Y
millions of
la
dollars.
cocaína entra a Estados Unidos.
The
¿Quién
cocaine
la compra?
enters the United States. Who buys that
Y el
drug?
dinero de quien la compra y la vende
And
en
the
Estados
money
Unidos, ¿dónde está?
that
¿En
of
qué banco?
those who sell the drugs,
Que la
where
guerra
are
que ellos
they?
quieren,
The
la
war
hagan
that they
en los
want,
Estados Unidos,
they need
contra las
to
mafias de
follow
Estados Unidos
in,
que
follow
controlan
it in the United States
todo el
against the
negocio
mafia in the United States
del
that are
narcotráfico
controlling
en Colombia,
the
en América
business of
Central
drugs
y más
in
allá.
Colombia,
Son las mafias de Estados
Central
Unidos
America and
quienes la
beyond.
controlan.
There
Ellos lo
is the
saben.
United States the one who are
Lo saben
controlling
bastante.
this, and they know this.
Pero cambiaron el relato.
But they
y
changed
ya no
the
acusan
story,
de comunista
and they are not accusing
a
of
quienes quieren
communists,
destruir.
those who
Era la
want,
acusación que hacían en las
those who
épocas
they
de la Unión
want to
Soviética.
destroy. That was the
Ya no acusan
accusation
de
during the
terroristas,
Soviet Union. They are
la
not
guerra contra el terrorismo
accusing
que acusaron de
terrorism
terroristas a Irak,
during the war,
a Afganistán,
the
a
alleged
Libia.
war against terrorism
Ahora, entonces,
against
la
Iraq and
acusación
Libya,
burda,
and now
digo
the
yo,
excuse, the
extravagante,
extravaganza
es narcotráfico.
is
Pues yo le
narco-trafficking.
digo,
Well, I say
Venezuela
Venezuela
es
is
territorio
a
limpio y libre
clean
del
territory
narcotráfico. Y
from
nuestro
narco-trafficking,
pueblo,
and our
nuestra
people,
Fuerza
our
Armada
state, our armed Bolivarian armed forces,
Es un estado limpio, libre.
is clean
Esa es la verdad
and
que
is
hemos
free
hecho ahora en
from
el
drugs.
Catatumbo, que
What have we
anunció
done in the
Diosdado,
Catatumbo region,
reforzar
announced
el
by
pie de
Diosdado to
fuerza.
reinforce
Van a ir 15,000
the force there?
hombres y mujeres
15,000 women and men
bien
are going to
armados,
go
bien
there,
entrenados
well
y bien
armed,
preparados
well
para
trained, and
reforzar
well
toda la
prepared
zona
to
binacional
reinforce the
que va desde el
binational
Táchira
zone that
hasta La
that
Guajira,
runs through the Táchira towards La Guajira. There were dialogues and conversations with the Minister of Defense of Colombia. We hope for that to flow very well. We are going to have video conferences and conversations between the police commands of both nations and in the binational zone and in Colombia as well. So we are moving forward in guaranteeing, according to our constitution, with sovereignty, self-determination, the security of our nation, which is our responsibility according to United Nations Charter, for no one to touch our soil because our territory is ours. Well, digital zone, we have President Nicolas Maduro. You answered 3 questions I have for you, the installment of and the zone of peace you already mentioned, and also of the armed groups you already mentioned as well. There is another point that I wanted to talk about with you. Although it could seem that it has no relations with this, but it does. This is a campaign that tries to divert attention of what is happening inside the United States, but what do you think that people really believe that Venezuela is the one generating the drug that the U.S. consumes, or if this has legitimacy, or if the people really believe that the Bolivarian revolution is going to fall? I say this because Interlast published a study that speaks about this issue. There is an indicator that captures my attention, a very special one, that 83% of Venezuelans do not believe the idea that the government of Nicolas Maduro is near to fall. So that 83% is really relevant because it includes not only Chavistas but also opposition leaders, or those who do not believe on this mermaids songs and everything we have had this year with this story. And this poll is about you, President. What do you think about this result? Well, I've seen so many measures, very precise and scientific ones. We have developed, so it is a capacity that our political forces have developed, our state as well. And we know absolutely that the Venezuelan population is united in favor of peace. That's the first idea, in favor of peace, in defense of sovereignty, and is united in the need for the country to be respected. And there is a rejection, a huge rejection, like it says, 83% or more, against those who are calling for invasions, to bombings, and fill the country with violence. And I think the rejections overcomes the 90% to the announcement and threats against a country by the United States. From that point of view, we are today more strengthened than ever in our national union, in the support to the defense of the sovereignty. In an expression is that with at least a single call of 24 hours, thousands of people, humble people, answer to that call from their homes. They listen to this and they were enlisted. It is very important. You are not calling for the people. You're not offering any bonuses at go to the Bolivar Square that we are going to offer cars. You are saying enlist yourself to take a rifle and defend your country, like Ezequiel Zamora, Jose Gregorio himself. I managed to get in the Altagracia parish at the civilian leadership of Altagracia. It is the book in which Jose Gregorio Hernandez enlisted himself in 1902 to become a soldier. The claims, at the moment there were no radio stations, and at the moment Cipriano Castro launched the great proclamation of the foreign following the threats against the nation. From that era to this one, it was a historical proclamation. And on December 10th, on December 11th, José Gregorio Hernández came from his little home in the parish until the civilian leadership of Altagracia. He enlisted and he said, I want to be a militiaman and I want my rifle. And I think that's the answer, the true and magnificent and moving answer that the Venezuelan people is offering now, and that is why today on social media I called to complete the enlistment process, because the squares were filled, overcrowded, the points were insufficient. So now we are working on a proposal for there to be a greatest quantity of points on Friday and Saturday to leave Sunday. Sunday are days of rest, on familiar gathering, and on Friday, on a working day for the people can be able to go to these points on their way to work, and also on Saturday to end and to complete the national enlistment, which is the first phase of activation of the forces, of the popular forces, armed forces, along with the Bolivarian National Armed Forces for the defense of our land. You see the 360 program. I was going to ask you to see the recorded one. And yesterday we were at the Bolivar Square, and I thought that because it was Sunday, I managed to see a lot of people. There was a man dressed in black, and a deputy from the Revolutionary Bloc said to me, go there and speak to him, that he's from the opposition. And he was all dressed in black, and I said to him, did you sign? Were you enlisted? And he said yes. And then I do not agree with Nicolas Maduro. I want him to be elected by an invasion. And he said to me something that follows your line, that is the one that supporting the country. I don't like Maduro, but I enlist myself in this militia because I need to defend my country, because if there is a bomb falling in the country, it's not going to kill just Chavistas, but everyone. I saw you, a fatty one. Yeah, I know. He was a young man, and it was a strong declaration. It's not about Maduro. It is about Bolivarians, Chavistas. We are better equipped, with more cohesion, and we are calling the whole country. This is about the homeland. This is about a country that Venezuela belongs to everyone. It doesn't belong to one single person. It is a treason for the homeland. Those who from Venezuela, being Venezuelans, or from abroad, are promoting, are calling, are asking and applauding an aggression, a military aggression against our nation, or the murder of the political leaders of the country. It is a felony, a grave felony. Not just of treason to the homeland, never seen before, but also, I said to you, Boris, following your reflection, what would happen to the United States of America and those who are listening to me through social media and radio? What would happen in the United States if a political group, an opinion group in the United States, inside the country or from abroad, would ask for another nation to invade it, to bomb it, or any other country try to attempt against its main officials and main leaders? What would the United States do? Silence for you to reflect. What would the United States do? What would the government do, the military forces, the tribunals of the United States? If a single United States citizen, men or women, from any social class or political leader, or a political strength that is against the administration, would call for other powers. I'm not going to offer any names. Go with their ships, got bombed and killed and intervene
¿Qué pasaría en Estados
what
Unidos?
would
Es una
happen in the
pequeña
United
pregunta.
States?
El
It's
que
my
responde
little
esa pregunta
question.
está respondiendo
Those
la
who
pregunta sobre
answer
Venezuela.
this
Estoy
question
seguro
would
que el pueblo de
answer the
Estados
question
Unidos
about
saldría a
Venezuela.
defender
I'm
su
very
tierra,
sure
su
that
patria,
the
su
US
paz y su
people will
seguridad.
go
Así
there
estamos saliendo todos los
outside to
venezolanos y
defend their
venezolanas,
homeland.
estamos en nuestra
We
ley.
are on a
Los venezolanos y venezolanas
right.
estamos en nuestra ley.
Venezuelans
Y
are
esta tierra no
following,
la toca
are
nadie.
protected by law.
Yo
This
te lo
land
juro a
is
ti,
not
Boris,
going
esta
to be
tierra
touched
no la
by
toca nadie.
anyone.
Esta tierra es
This
sagrada,
land is sacred,
bendecida y es la tierra de
blessed,
los
and
libertadores.
it's the
Así
land
que
of
es muy bello todo
liberators.
lo que
So
pasó
it's
el fin
very,
de semana.
very beautiful, everything that happened this weekend. I think also this is the effect that is generated by this, saying that Venezuela is a narco state, or the Soles cartel is trying to justify any action against Venezuela. But let's go back to the point. Unfortunately, we are going to say that the US administration has been launching a couple of pointings and is losing credibility. And why I say this, I mentioned this because it is generating effects that not the ones they expected, like a boomerang effect, contrary to what they were expecting. Here I have a report from La Iguana. The world supports President Maduro against the threats of the US government. The alleged military deployment of the United States in Caribbean Sea under the pretext of defending from narco trafficking has generated a rejection from the governments of the world that are showing their solidarity with the Venezuelan leader. This also, this is the case of China, Russia, Iran. In Latin America, there is Bolivia, Colombia, that historically hasn't been very supportive towards Venezuela, and also Barbados, that also is not very Chavista, and other countries such as Cuba, Nicaragua, historical ones that see this case as a new example of these double standards and fake news. And many people remember what happened with Iraq, with the arms of massive destruction, numerous cases, also 100 years ago, that ends up in nothing. So we need to highlight that the people is not dumb. There is a great world consciousness about the decay of the US empire. The US empire, I've been saying this in several conferences and public spaces, the US, knowing its historical decay as an empowered empire, especially in Latin America, which is its vital space. The US imperialism needs to forge a new hegemony, and that is why it is launching its economic war and threatening with war all of the countries of the world. And this policy, this aggressive and brutal policy that has in threatening the powers of the world, of the small countries also. But there's another thing that I haven't said. What is happening in the power of the United States is something characteristic in the positions of policy making. People with extremist ideas that believe that the world must obey them. They are convinced that they are the judges, police, and governments of the world, the most powerful of the world, and there is a completely different reality. The peoples of the world have culture, own ideas. We have the right of development. It doesn't matter the size of the countries or the amount of population. It is also a decay on their story. They try to impose a narrative like a Hollywood-like story with putting up the picture of a person and that's it. That narrative is over because what they did with Iraq, where are the arms of massive destruction? What they did, what was that they did with Libya, the Al-Gaddafi, they killed 3,000 people in the Green Square, or in Afghanistan, for example. They went there to persecute Taliban's who are terrorist groups at the moment. Those Taliban people that were
Osama
formed
bin
by the
Laden,
CIA.
agente
Osama
de
bin
la
Laden
CIA
was a
por
CIA
15
agent for 15 years.
Osama bin
Bin
Laden era
Laden
de ellos.
was
Ellos lo formaron
one
para
of
matar,
them who
sicariar, poner bomba,
he
destruir.
was trained to kill and
Y
put
después
up
ellos dicen
bombs
que
and
se les
destroy.
volteó.
And after that,
Eso
they
está por
say
comprobar en la
that
historia.
he
Lo cierto es
turned
que buscaron
him.
un enemigo mundial para justificar la
They
guerra contra el
needed
terrorismo.
a worldwide
¿Verdad?
enemy to
Entonces, es un
justify the
Estado
war against terrorism.
guerrerista
And it
que
is
quiere forzar
a
hoy
warring
lo
government
que
that wants
es
to
una
force
hegemonía
today
nueva
a new
de
Germany
dominación.
of
Y no
dominance,
puede,
and it
no va a
can't
poder.
do so. It's
Y
not
lo
going
otro
to be
que
able
te
to
dije
do
que yo no
so.
lo había dicho,
And
lo voy a
something
decir hoy por
else
primera
that
vez.
I'm going to say
Puede
this
ser,
for the very first time,
es que la mafia de
is that
Miami,
the Miami
odia
mafia
Venezuela,
that hates
que odia
Venezuela
América
deeply,
Latina,
that
y que
hates
quisiera
Latin
ser
America,
como
and that
la
wants to
mafia
be
colonial
the
del
colonial
continente,
mafia of the continent,
vinculado a toda la
that is
corrupción
linked
y el
to all the
narcotráfico,
corruption and
tiene
narco-trafficking,
el poder
has the power
en Washington.
in Washington.
Marco Rubio
Marco
tiene
Rubio
dos cargos que
has
solo
two
Henry Kissinger tuvo.
charges that
Y
only
Henry
Henry
Kissinger
Kissinger
es el gran
had,
geopolítico
who is the great
de los
geopolitical
últimos 100 años.
man of the last
No solo de Estados
century,
Unidos,
not
del
just in the
mundo,
United
Henry
States, but
Kissinger.
also
Habría
of
que
the
estudiarlo.
world.
Yo lo he
You
estudiado
need to
bastante,
study
Henry Kissinger,
him.
bastante.
I have
¿Oíste?
studied him
Desde hace 15 años lo he estudiado.
for almost 15 years
Y
already.
él tiene la
And he
Secretaría
has
de
the
Seguridad
Secretary of Security
Nacional
of
de
National
Casablanca
Security of
y el
the
Departamento de Estado. Los dos
State Department.
cargos
Two
fundamentales
key
para
charges
ellos intentar gobernar
for
el
them
mundo.
to try to govern the
son un
world
imperio.
because they are an empire.
Y él odia a Venezuela.
And he hates
Así por el
Venezuela.
estilo, tiene un conjunto de
On that
cargos
line, he has
dentro de la
an
estructura de
amount of
poder,
positions in the
y él
structure of
encabeza
power, and
todos
he's
estos planes
leading all of these
que no
plans
tienen viabilidad
that have no
y
viability
sencillamente está
and
todos
simply
los días
are
maquinando,
on a daily
utilizando su poder
basis trying
para
to
la guerra
use his
psicológica,
power for a
para la
psychological
guerra
war,
política
for a political
y
war,
para posicionar un escenario
and to position an
porque,
scenario,
lamentablemente,
because unfortunately,
este señor con su locura y
this
su
man with his
extremismo
madness and
pudiera llevar al
extremism
presidente
could
Donald
lead
Trump
the US
al
President
peor
Donald Trump
de
to
los
the
escenarios
worst of the
en América
scenarios
Latina y
in
el
Latin
Caribe.
America and the
No
Caribbean.
digo más.
I'm
Lo
not
único que
saying
sé
more.
es que Venezuela
The only thing I know is
está en
that
paz,
Venezuela
va
is
a
at
seguir en
peace,
paz,
is going to
y con el
be
favor de Dios y sus
at peace,
bendiciones,
and
y
with
la unión
God's
de nuestro
favor
pueblo,
and the union
vamos
of
a
our
salir
people, we are
adelante
going to move
airosos
forward
de esta coyuntura.
from this exceptional circumstance.
Sobre este tema, presidente,
About this topic, Mr. President, what is that?
Mira, vale, aparece Chávez, chico.
Chavez,
Santiné.
Santa Inés.
Mire, presidente, no, yo creo
Look,
que
President,
en la
I
línea de lo
think
que usted decía,
that in line with what
de
you
hecho,
were
yo diría
mentioning,
inclusive que es hasta al
I would
revés.
even say that is
va en la línea con lo que
the
usted dice, pero es hasta al
contrary,
revés.
but it's
Estas
even the
demostraciones de
opposite.
Estados
These
Unidos, más una
demonstrations
demostración
of
de
the
fuerza,
U.S.
que es lo que
with
se publicita
a
y lo que Trump
force
pretende proyectar,
show and what Trump
son,
tries
en
to
mi
project
criterio,
are in my
algo al revés,
criteria,
son más bien una
something
muestra de debilidad,
that
son como una
shows
especie de acto de
weakness,
desesperación
actually,
ante un
a
cambio que ya es
desperate
inminente.
action
Y yo
in the
creo
face
que
of a change that
voy
is
en la línea de lo
imminent.
que dice usted,
And
que lo
on
que
the
hace
line,
Marco
on the
Rubio,
same
lo que
line you
hacen
were
algunos
mentioning
políticos
of what
norteamericanos,
Marco Rubio
lejos
says
de
and some
ser
U.S.
un
politicians,
factor
far from
para
being a
recuperar
factor
el poder
to
de Estados
recover
Unidos,
the
es un
power of the United
catalizador de un
States,
cambio que es
is more
inminente y que
like
gracias a
the
esas decisiones se está
booster
acelerando
of
más.
a change.
Porque
And
vamos a estar
thanks
claros
to
que
these
los más
decisions, it is
acólitos de Estados
accelerating
Unidos, como
those
Europa
in the
o
United
inclusive
States,
gobiernos de
the
América
most
Latina, ya se lo
favored
está pensando dos veces
allies
antes
are
de seguir el
thinking
tren de lo que marca
twice
Estados Unidos,
before
porque son
following the train of
situaciones
the United
tan
States in the
sobrevenidas,
context
tan
of
jaladas por los
situations
cabellos,
so
tan
complex,
manipuladas,
so
que es
manipulative
imposible seguirlo.
situations.
concepto
I
de
would say
comandante
in a
Hugo Chávez, que se lo escuché
concept
varias
of
veces.
Commander Chavez,
Estamos en un
we
momento
are
de
in a moment of
transición
transition
del viejo mundo
of the
imperial
old imperial
al nuevo
world
mundo
to
de
a
los
new
pueblos del sur,
world
al nuevo
of the
mundo
peoples of the
multipolar.
South, a
Estos
new
son dolores de
multipolar
parto del
world.
nacimiento
This is
de
the
un nuevo
pain
mundo.
of
Y
the
Venezuela
birth
va en la vanguardia otra
of
vez, igual
the-
que hace 200 años. Por eso,
of the birth
él es la
process.
revolución.
He is the revolution.
Él, lo dijo
He.
Pablo Morillo.
¿Dónde lo va a
Pablo
publicar, por
Morillo
cierto?
said,
Usted dijo
where
que sí
are
fue
you
sobre
going
redes.
Yo
to
siempre
publish
publico
it?
en mis
I
redes.
always
Dale
publish
like.
on my social
Y lo imprime
media,
y lo lee o lo
and
lees
you
aquí.
can
A mí
read
me
it
gusta leer
here.
en el
I like to
libro
read
físico
it in
de
physic,
Ernesto
in
Villegas,
physic
¿verdad?
books.
Mejor papel. Por eso le preguntaba.
¿Qué más trajiste ahí?
What
Lanza,
else
lanza. No has lanzado
do
nada,
you
Boris.
did
Te
you
veo
bring?
débil,
I
chico,
think
hoy.
Están
you
pelando los ojos
came
por allá atrás.
here
Llevan como
weak.
5 noticias, pero bueno, ya que usted muy amablemente
Well,
nos está dando tiempo,
we
déjeme
have
buscar la
been
chuleta que tengo
speaking
por
about
aquí.
like
Unión de
5
Maduro
news.
más
This is the
con
union
una visión
of Maduro
360.
Mas us with a
Exacto.
vision of
No, no,
360
claro.
vision.
El ministro se está riendo porque él
The
sabe
minister
cómo
is
fue todo el
laughing because he
montaje de
knew
hoy.
how was all
Traigan
this
un poquito de agua para
display
aguantarle
today.
aquí
Bring a little bit
la
of
barra
water
metida.
to
No queda
support
tanto, no queda
this.
tanto. Quedan unas notas de interés. Lo que
There are a
pasa es que,
few
claro, como dije que
interesting news,
Antes
but
los
of
periodistas
course, as
tenían un
I
cuaderno y
yesterday,
hacían las preguntas escritas.
before
Ahora todo
this
un
era,
teléfono, vale.
journalists
Boni, lanza, pues.
used to
Bueno,
bring
presidente,
all
pero,
the
por favor,
questions
no me-
noted in a tiny book note.
Lo estoy buscando en el
Now,
teléfono.
don't you
ahora la
pressure,
parte donde
pressure,
tienen las
put
preguntas
pressure
se me
on
fue para el
me.
final. Entonces estoy ahorita
President,
haciendo magia para buscar la
I'm,
pregunta. Aquí está.
doing magic
Vamos a
to
ver, ya lo
find
tocamos,
the
ya lo tocamos.
questions.
Este también es interesante. me
This
parece
one is
bueno.
also
Está en las
interesting.
notas nacionales.
It
está
is
de
on the
último, pero ya
national
esto lo pondría de
notes,
primero.
and I would put
Dice,
this
más peligroso
as
que
the
el
first
alcohol.
one. It is dangerous
El
than
daño que los
alcohol,
TikToks y
the
los
damage
Reels
that
podrían hacer.
TikToks and Reels could
Esto
do.
obviamente nos retrotrae
This is
nuevamente a lo que es el escenario de
something
la configuración de la realidad
that
y de lo
brings us
imaginario.
back together
Y
of
cómo
the
estamos
reality and
pasando
imagery of
de un
of
escenario en el cual
the
las tecnologías
and
supuestamente
in
iban
a
a ser
scenario in which
liberadoras
the
y
technologies were going to be free
un
tools
espacio para la difusión del
and
pensamiento
the
libre y está
diffusion
ocurriendo todo lo
of the free
contrario.
thinking, and it's
Yo escuché
happening
un
the
pensamiento que usted
opposite.
hizo a
I
propósito
think
de eso,
some
de que el
an idea that
pensamiento
you mentioned
y sobre todo
in
la
the
lectura iba a ser un
thinking and the,
privilegio en este escenario que
the
estamos viviendo.
reading
Y
is
ahora
going to
sale
be a
esta nota que
privilege
dice eso, ¿no?
in this
El
scenario,
daño que los TikToks
and
y los
now
Reels podrían hacer,
there
que
is a
pueden ser
note
más
that
peligrosos que el
says
alcohol.
that
¿Qué
Reels
tienen que
and
decir
TikToks
ustedes,
can be
señor Nicolás
more
Maduro?
dangerous
Eso
than
forma
alcohol.
parte
This is
de la
part
llamada guerra
of the
cognitiva.
cognitive war.
Ya eso es un concepto que
It
nuestro
is a
pueblo maneja.
concept that our
La guerra
country
cognitiva tiene que ver
knows, a
por el
cognitive
cerebro.
war that has to do with the
Si tú
brains.
neutralizas el
If you
cerebro,
neutralize the brain,
neutralizas al
you
ser humano.
neutralize
Es decir, el
the,
ser
the
humano
human
se
being.
individualiza
The human
a un
being
nivel extremo
individualizes
y
in an
solamente está
extreme
pendiente
way and is
de lo que
only
le digas tú, las
attentive
tendencias, el
to what the
algoritmo,
tendencies and
y te
algorithms
captan
said to
aquí
them,
con
and they
emociones,
capture
mensajes
their
diarios
emotions
de
with
diversos
daily
signos,
messages
los
of several
poderes mundiales
signs,
que
the
controlan las
power,
redes
the
sociales, ese ser humano
worldwide
lo
powers,
neutraliza.
and
Es
that
todo un
human
tema que
being
se viene
is
analizando desde
neutralized
hace
by
80
this. It is
años,
a topic that has
100
been on
años,
the
con el
on
aparecimiento de
and
la
being
televisión
analyzed for over 80
y el
years with
efecto que tenía
the
manipulador,
appearance
el
of
uso
the
de los
TV
aparatos de
and
los
also
aparatos
the
televisivos y la
the
comunicación.
television.
Ese debate de la comunicación, la humanidad nunca lo había
That
hecho.
debate
Se
of
empieza a hacer
communication
por
was
los
never
grandes medios,
made by humanity.
combinado,
It
pero
is
sobre todo
now
con la
done
televisión.
after
La
the
prensa
great
también, porque
emporiums
la
of the
prensa en un
media. The
momento dado
press,
tuvo
at a certain
un papel
point,
determinante.
played a key
Un
role.
periódico
Newspapers, for
prestigio
example,
dominante en un país o una
prestigious
ciudad,
newspaper
sacaba un
in a
titular y
country
esa
or
era
a
la pauta
city
de la ciudad, lo que se iba a conversar ahí.
released
De
a
hecho,
headline, and that
el
was
día
the
del golpe de
fact
Estado contra el
of the
comandante
agenda
Hugo Chávez,
at the day,
el
at the
11 de abril
moment of
2002,
the
debe saber la juventud,
coup d'état
el
against,
titular del periódico El Nacional,
against
que por
Commander
décadas
Chavez,
fue el más
the
famoso del país.
El
Yo aprendí a
Internacional,
leer
which
en mi
was
casa
the
con El
most
Nacional.
famous of the
Cuerpo A,
country.
B,
I learned
C y
how
D.
to
Yo aprendí a leer con El
read
Nacional.
with that, with El Nacional,
Y el papel literario, dirigido por
and
Luis Alberto Crespo.
led
El
by Luis
Nacional
Alberto Crespo.
lo dirigió
El
Miguel
Nacional was
Otero
led
Silva,
by Miguel Otero Silva,
un gigante
a giant
de la identidad nacional,
of the
de las
national
letras
identity,
nacionales.
of the lyrics, of
Y de
the
América Latina y del
letters of
Caribe.
the nation and Latin America and the
Y ese
Caribbean.
prestigio
And that
lo destruyó
prestige was
su hijo, pues.
destroyed by his
No voy a
his
calificarlo,
son.
porque
I'm
sería
not
muy
going to
fuerte
qualify him
calificarlo,
because
¿no?
he's going to be very
Lo
strong to
destruyó,
do
él
so.
sabe, Miguel Enrique Otero. Yo
Miguel
fui
Enrique
amigo de
Otero
Miguel Enrique
destroyed
Otero.
him,
Él
destroyed
él
the
sabe que yo sé.
prestige of the
Él
newspaper.
sabe que yo sé todo.
He knows that I know
Y
everything.
entonces él se sumó al golpe de
And
Estado. ¿Quién
he
dirigió el golpe de Estado
joined
contra
the
Chávez?
coup d'état. Who
El
led
gobierno
the
de los
coup
Estados
d'état?
Unidos
The U.S.
de
government of
W.
George
Bush.
W. Bush.
El gobierno de España
The government of
de
Spain
José
of
María
José
Aznar,
María Aznar.
¿verdad? Ahora,
Now,
ellos hicieron una coalición
they did a
interna,
coalition, an
poderosa,
internal coalition,
poderosa.
powerful one,
Y el periódico principal
and
del
the
país, El
main
Nacional, tituló
newspaper,
a
El
las 10 de la
Nacional,
mañana,
headlined at
sacaron
10
miles de
a.m.
ejemplares.
with thousands of
Del 11 de abril,
copies of
en
April
Miraflores
11th.
será
In
batalla
Miraflores,
final.
there will be the
Ya
final
tenían el
battle.
plan de asaltar
They had a
Miraflores y
plan to
matar a
assault
Chávez.
Miraflores and kill Chavez.
Y no le dijeron a sus
And they
seguidores.
said nothing to their followers.
Todos los dirigentes políticos
All of
se
the
fueron
political
de la
leaders
marcha y
left
dejaron
the
a la
march
gente al garete.
and left
Ya
the
se sabe la
people
historia.
by
Pusieron
themselves.
francotiradores que
They
trajeron de
put
Centroamérica y de
snipers
Colombia a
brought
matar a
from
su propio
Central
público, a su
America to
propio
kill their
pueblo,
own
que es también
people,
nuestro
their
pueblo.
own
¿Eh? Pero el titular fue en
people,
Miraflores
but the
será la batalla
headlines
final.
was in
Hoy,
Miraflores there will be
La batalla
the final
final
battle will
será
take
en la
place.
pantalla.
Today, the
¿verdad?
final battle will
Y nosotros
happen
estamos haciendo un
in
trabajo
our screens, and we are doing a pedagogic and methodological and psychological work to build up an alternative to the tendencies, the perverse tendencies imposed by social media, and to build up alternatives along with different international currents that are warning of the huge damage that does to our brains, to the society and the families, to leave the people to stick without critics to these tendencies. And always say to you, mother, fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, aunts, to you I say, for children and the youth, and also for you, ourselves, less screens, more thinking, less screens, more physical reading, and more reflection, more introspection, less screens, more play, more conversation, human conversation. Don't you think that Venezuelans are more advanced in this matter? Because let's be clear, the international campaign we have been facing in an average population is not subjected to these attacks that as the one that is faced by Venezuelans. And also there was a fake news that tanks were entering through the White Palace and that President Nicolas Maduro was attacked. And the fact that Venezuela has been suffering for a such a heavy campaign makes that Venezuelans believe that social media, not everything is true there. I think we need to create an immunity against the viruses, against these tendencies. We need to apply a vaccine against children with critical consciousness, less screen, more plays, more patriotism. It is my advice to the fathers and mothers of the country, because if we protect our children, the future is guaranteed, and afterward to protect the society in general. We are on the right path. And besides, we are in a natural process of coincidences and encounters with hundreds of intellectual currents from Spain, from the United States, Europe, the whole world that are speaking the same language we are speaking. In a very humble way, I released this book that I worked with a little team, and we tried to make it in a simple way that is Calles Redes Medias, a manual for the new communicational battle. I do recommend it. God bless you, Boris, and God. I have a bad news. Luis Alberto Lamatas died at 65 years old. It is a very sensitive loss, and I wanted to. It is a very sensitive loss, but those who have lived life and have fulfilled their mission, to see the moment of their departure that left our work, he remains alive among everyone who admire and love their work, and his example is going to live on. And we were working on a project in a very early stage, which was to make the life of Simón Bolívar with the new technologies in a series. We're thinking about a 100 chapter series of the life of Liberator. As Pablo Morilla said, is the revolution, and to recount the life of the Liberator, and also, which means recounting the life of a revolution and a republic. That project we were speaking, we were discussing that move forward with several pieces. We are going to do so, but as is homage, the life of Bolívar and when we are able to do so, he's going to be there.
Muchas gracias,
Honor and
presidente,
glory.
por su
Thank you,
participación.
President, for your participation.
Vamos a tomar una foto de recuerdo,
Let's
porque esta
take
entrevista
a
estuvo buena,
picture
¿vale?
because this
Vale, gracias,
interview
vale.
was
Ven
a
acá.
good one. Let's
Ven
take a
acá.
picture.
Le regalaste un libro.
I even
Nos
gift to you
vamos
with
al
a book.
segmento con
Now we are
Maduro
going
más.
to segment the segments of Con Maduro Más.
Más paz
More
y seguridad.
peace and
Adelante.
security.
Bueno, aquí tenemos
Well,
invitados,
here we have a very special guest,
el general en jefe
General-in-Chief Vladimir
Padrino
Padrino
López,
Lopez, Vice President of Government,
sectorial para la
sectorial for the
soberanía
national
del
sovereignty,
Poder
and Minister
Popular
of the
para la
Popular
Defensa,
Power for Defense,
el general en jefe
General-in-Chief
Domingo
Domingo
Hernández
Hernández
Lares,
Lares,
comandante
strategic
commander
commander
de las Fuerzas Armadas
of the
Nacional
operations of the Bolivarian
y
Armed
el
Forces,
General
and
Romero
Major
Bolívar,
General Romero Bolívar,
que
who
el comandante general
is the
de
General
la
Commander
Milicia
of the
Nacional
National Militia, Bolivarian
De
National
verdad que
Militia. It is
vi
truly,
a ustedes en
I
las
saw
calles.
you on the streets.
Yo pienso siempre,
I always
padrino,
think,
compañero,
Padrino,
¿en qué otro país
in which other country
los generales, los almirantes,
generals,
los oficiales
almirants, and officials
están en las
are
plazas, en los
on the
barrios,
squares, on the
y el pueblo los
neighborhoods,
reconoce,
and
los
is
abraza,
being they are as they
y
are
los
being
considera
recognized by the
sus
people and
generales,
hugged
sus
by the
almirantes?
people and consider them by
De verdad que es
their
muy
generals,
emocionante
their
verlos a ustedes
almirants. It is very emotional to
siempre
see you
entre el pueblo,
always
con el
among
pueblo,
the
porque
people and with
la
the
Fuerza
people,
Armada Nacional
because the
Bolivariana
Bolivarian Armed
es el pueblo
Forces is
uniformado
the
en armas.
uniformed people in arms.
Tiene una gran
It
responsabilidad.
has a great
Es
responsibility,
como que la familia
and
te
it's
dice,
like if the family
"Dale,
says to
tú
you, go ahead,
tienes la
you
responsabilidad de
have the
defender la
responsibility to
casa",
defend our home,
¿verdad? Y
right?
te toca defender
and
la casa.
it's
Entonces
your
tú tienes
duty
que
to do
tomar
so.
tus
You need
medidas,
to take your
poner una
measures,
cámara aquí,
put up
poner
a
las cosas,
camera
que
and
la puerta tenga
that,
llave,
that
porque es la
the door
responsabilidad
has
de
locked.
cuidar a tu mamá, a tu
Because it's a
papá, a tu
responsibility
esposa, a tus
of
hijos,
your
a tus
responsibility
hijas.
to take
Y
care
la
of your
Fuerza Armada
mothers, your
Nacional
father, your
Bolivariana tiene la
sons, your
responsabilidad de cuidar
children.
la
The
casa, la
Bolivarian
familia,
Armed Forces have the
¿verdad?
responsibility
Y no
to
permitir
take
que nadie la
care
amenace
of
ni la
the
agreda.
homes of the families.
Hemos venido
And
construyendo
we
un
have
sistema,
been building up a system
complejo, pudiéramos
complex
decirlo,
system,
pero un sistema
but a
totalmente
system,
novedoso, que
a
va
really
escribiendo una nueva
new
historia militar,
system that is writing a new story of
una
military
nueva historia
history
militar, desde la profundidad de la
from
historia,
the very deep
valga la redundancia,
of the history
de la historia larga,
of
de
a very
500
long
años,
history of
de la historia
500 years
libertadora,
of
de
the
la historia de
libertarian
Ezequiel Zamora,
history of the Ezequiel Zamora history,
también de la
but
historia del
also
desastre del
of
siglo
the
XVIII,
history of the
XIX,
19th
la historia de los
century
caudillos, de los
disaster
enfrentamientos
of the
intestinos, del debilitamiento interno de la guerra
internal
civil,
conflicts
cómo
of
eso
civil war and how that
cuadriculó el cuerpo nacional,
divided the
destruyó el
national
Estado,
body,
destruyó el
destroyed
más
the
poderoso
state, and
ejército que se
destroyed
haya
the
visto
most
en América,
powerful
nuestro ejército.
army ever seen
cómo
in the
llegamos apenas
Americas,
al
or
siglo
our army, and how we arrived to the
boqueando.
20th century
Llegamos boqueando al siglo XX.
with
O sea
despair.
que nuestra doctrina
Our
recorre todas
doctrine
las partes de nuestra historia.
Encapsulates
Y
all
en
the
la
parts of our
práctica, porque
history,
cualquiera pudiera
and in the practice,
tener un
anyone
gran
could
desarrollo
have
académico.
a
Ustedes
great
son
academic development.
oficiales del
You
más
are
alto
officials
nivel,
of the
con todos los
highest
rangos
level with
académicos
all
y
the
estudios permanentes.
academic
Si la
studies
Fuerza
and
Armada
in a
Nacional
permanent
Bolivariana tiene
study,
algo,
and
es
if
una
the
fuerza en estudio,
the
preparación
Bolivarian Armed
permanente.
Forces have a
través de
permanent
la Universidad
preparation
Militar
through the military
Bolivariana.
academy.
Cualquier oficial que
Any
tú hables
official you
tiene
speak
no sé
with
cuántas
has
maestrías,
a
preparaciones,
group of
cursos, curso de
masters
Estado Mayor,
and
doctorado.
postgraduates,
Y el curso de Estado Mayor
postgraduate
venezolano no es
courses,
Estado Mayor.
and
Dale,
the major
aprende de
state
tres
is not
manuales.
just the major state with a
Ponte los
with a
papeles.
manual.
Sí,
It
muy
is
exigente.
it is very
Entonces,
dedicated.
pudiéramos tener,
So
padrino,
we could have, Padrino,
una doctrina
a
militar
military
teórica
theoric military
tienen muchos
doctrine,
países.
as many countries have.
de la teoría
This is this is the
Y cuando
theory,
salen a la práctica,
and when they come out to the
teoría
practice,
no tiene que ver
the
con la
theory has
práctica,
nothing to do with the
y
practice,
el impacto de la
and the
práctica,
impact
de
of
la
the
acción
practice
directa
of the
es
direct
nulo.
action is
Nosotros
new.
tenemos
We
las dos
have
fortalezas.
the two
Una teoría
strengths,
poderosa,
a
un
powerful
concepto
theory,
estratégico
and a,
poderoso,
a
una
concept,
doctrina poderosa
and
y
a
una capacidad de
doctrine
acción
powerful,
inmediata
and
y
an,
poderosa
an,
también.
an
¿Qué
action
comentarios
capacity
me
that
tienes
is
de
also
toda
very
esta jornada?
powerful.
General en
What
jefe,
comments do
Vladimir
you have
Correo.
on this
Muchas gracias, mi
journey?
comandante en jefe.
Thank you very much, my commander in
El fin
chief.
de semana
This weekend was
fueron unos días de
were a couple of
efervescencia
days
popular, ¿no?
of popular
Cuando uno recorría las calles de Caracas, cuando uno
emotion.
recorría
When
calles
you
del
go
interior, veía
toured
las
the
imágenes,
streets of
uno
Caracas
veía
and
un
the
fervor,
images
un
of the
fervor
interior of the
patriótico,
country, it was a
encarnado en cada
patriotic
hombre y cada
emotion
mujer del pueblo
in
de
every
Venezuela.
men and women of
Este
the
llamado que usted ha
nation. This
hecho
call that
ha
you made
despertado
has
nuevamente el furor
awakened the
bolivariano,
strength, the
el
Bolivarian
furor
strength, the
patriótico, esa fibra, pues,
patriotic
que siempre
strength,
está
that
allí,
fiber that's always
así
there,
como durmiendo, pero
like
cuando
like
la
asleep,
levantan y la
but when it is
despiertan, no hay
awakened,
quien la pare, pues,
there's
no hay quien la
nothing
pare.
that
Así
can
que
stop this.
ese llamado lo
So
hemos hecho
this
en el
call we
marco,
made it in the
comandante en jefe, sabe
framework
usted que usted nos ordenó el plan
as
Ayacucho,
you
el plan de transformación de la Fuerza Armada Nacional
asked
Bolivariana. Estamos trabajando
in the
activamente en
Bolivarian
eso. La milicia
militia,
bolivariana
the
está
militia
allí.
is
Es el
always is
centro de todo el
also
análisis
there, is at the
y de toda la
center of all of the
transformación. Estamos
analysis
haciendo
and
cambios para
transformation. We are
proponérselo
doing some
al final de
changes
nuestros debates,
to
nuestras
propose to
discusiones.
you
Y
after
esta
all of our
convocatoria
debates,
que usted ha
and
hecho,
this
este
call that you
llamamiento,
made,
nos va a servir
this
para
enlistment is going to
caracterizar
help us
a
to
cada miliciano y
characterize
cada
every
miliciano.
militiaman and
Cuando digo
women,
caracterizar
and
es
when I
dónde está
say
viviendo, porque la
characterize is
gente se
know
muda,
where are they
cambia de
living.
residencia,
People
se va para
change
otro
their
estado.
residence and
Entonces
change of
comenzamos
state.
nosotros
Now
a
we are
caracterizar la
beginning
milicia
to
por
characterize the
regiones,
militia
por
by
estados,
region, by state,
por municipio,
by
por
municipality,
parroquias,
by
por
parish,
comunidades, por
communities,
comunas.
communes.
Y eso nos va a dar a
And this
nosotros
is
señales
going to
de
show
cómo
us
vamos a emplear la milicia en el
how
territorio,
are we going to
bien sea desde
implement
el
the
punto de
militia
vista de
from
la
territory,
defensa
from
o
the
la lucha
defense point
no
of view, or
armada.
of
Hoy
the
escuchaba al vicepresidente
non-armed
Yáñez
struggle.
hablando
I
con
was
los
listening to Vice President Yáñez
representación de
speaking in
los
representation of
camarógrafos,
cameraman,
periodistas.
journalists.
Eso es un arma.
That is an
Eso es
arm.
un arma de la
That
Hablando de
is an
Ñañez, nuestra
arm.
arma secreta.
Ese no es
Ñañez
nuestra
is
arma,
our
es un
secret
arma
arm.
secreta, Freddy. Pero cada
But
quien tiene una misión que
everyone
cumplir.
has
Es lo
a
que usted
mission
sabe,
to
Duarte, una
fulfill,
misión,
a
un
mission,
lugar
a
y un
place,
fusil, y un
and
arma.
an
Entonces,
arm.
no solamente son las armas
It's
de la
not
lucha
just
armada,
the
sino también
arm
las
of
fusiles de la nación, las armas
of,
de la
of a
República
daily
en
basis
manos del
battle, but
pueblo,
also
y en
the
eso estamos
rifles of the
trabajando
nation
para que,
on the hands of the people, and that
todas
is
esas armas,
why what we are
todas esas
working
armas,
for,
con la
all of that
preservación, por supuesto,
armament,
el cuidado y
with
el
the
control que va a
preservation
tener
and
las Fuerzas
control
Armadas
that
sobre ellas,
the armed
estén
forces are
a
going to have
disposición
upon them,
inmediata del
are
pueblo
at the
para
total
la
disposition of the
defensa
people
local
for the
en las
local
comunas.
defense in the
Estamos
communes.
trabajando
We are
mucho con el tema
working a
comunal.
lot
Y
with the
sabemos que ese es el
communal
centro de gravedad
sphere, which is the
principal que usted está
gravity
construyendo
center
ahorita,
that you are
que nuestro
building,
comandante
and
supremo
our
nos encargó,
Supreme
pues, para
Commander
que
all
prosiguiéramos por ese
mandated
camino. Estamos
mandated
trabajando
us
mucho
to
el tema
follow
comunal
that
con el
path. We
tema
are
miliciano.
working the
Cada
communal
cada comuna,
the
cada
communal
comuna
idea
debe
with
tener
the
sus
militiamen
hombres,
and women.
sus hombres
Each
armados,
commune
armados.
must
Puedo
have their
decirle,
armed men and
al
women.
pueblo de Venezuela que la
I need to
milicia
say to the
bolivariana
people of
sabe
Venezuela that the
tener
Bolivarian
muchos
militia
empleos,
knows how to have many
dentro de esos
employments,
empleos
but one of them,
hay empleos, la milicia
some of them
bolivariana
are
está fuerzas
have
especiales.
even
Claro.
the
Fuerzas
militias have
especiales
even special
organizados,
forces
entrenados
organized and
con su
trained
armamento.
with their
Es lo que
armaments.
yo decía el
And that is
jueves,
what I was
el
saying
cuartel
on
general de la
Thursday
milicia.
at the
Esto no lo
militia
estamos improvisando ayer. Esto es una
barracks.
estructura
This is
que
not
va en fase de
something that we
consolidación profunda y
invented yesterday. It
acelerada.
is in a
Ahora la
phase of
amenaza,
deeply
lo que nos
reconstruction.
presentó
Now the
es una
threat
gran oportunidad
posed us
para
as a
crecer
great opportunity
en lo
to
cuantitativo,
for making us to
millones,
grow, how
y
to
en lo
grow
cualitativo,
in
la
millions,
preparación concreta
and also the
para
concrete
resistir
preparation to
en
resist.
lo que es la misión que
And
cada
what it
quien
is,
debe
the
cumplir.
great mission of
Cada
everyone.
ciudadano una misión.
Every citizen
Cada
has a
hombre y mujer
mission.
una misión.
Every woman and man
¿Verdad?
has a
Porque este
mission,
territorio tiene
because
que
this
ser
territory
intocable,
must be
inefundable,
untouchable
para siempre. No es
forever.
para ahora, para una
Not for
coyuntura, un
today.
mes,
This
2
is
meses,
not
un
part
año,
of our
10 años.
context.
Para
It
siempre.
is
El sistema
going.
de seguridad, el sistema
It is
defensivo
forever.
tiene que ser para
The
siempre.
the
Es el
defense
legado
system
del
needs
comandante
to be
Chávez.
forever.
Es el legado de esta generación
Needs
al
to
futuro de la
prevail. This It is the
independencia de nuestro
legacy
país,
for the
¿verdad?
future
Porque la
generations,
amenaza contra
the
Venezuela,
threat against Venezuela,
el rugir del imperio,
the
es
roar
contra toda
of the
América del Sur,
empire is
contra
against
toda
all
América
Latin
Latina.
America,
¿Quién lo puede
all
dudar?
South America. Who
¿Verdad?
has a doubt
No
on
lo
this?
dudan.
They
los
don't.
gobernantes de
It is
derecha
not doubt, not even by the by the
con un
right
chorrete de
leaders that
estiércol
act
cuando los gringos
with
le hablan.
that
No, allá los gringos
that
con sus rollos allá que tienen
that
bastante,
act with
bastante
fear
miseria
whenever
ellos.
the
40 millones de
empire
pobres y nadie habla
speaks.
de
No
resolver los
one
problemas de los
speaks
pobres.
about resolving the problems of the
Millones
poor
de
people.
personas que viven en las calles,
Millions
no
that
tienen
live on the
vivienda.
streets there and
Millones
have
de
no
personas sin
households.
salud,
Millions of
sin
people
derecho a la
without
educación,
right to health
¿verdad?
or education.
Millones de personas
Millions
enfermas
of people ill
del tema de la drogadicción, millones
because of drugs.
impacta
Millions that
desde los altos mandos de
impact
ese
from the
país
high commands
hasta
of the country
gente que ustedes
to
ven los
people you
videos
see on the videos
dolorosos, muy dolorosos.
that's something
Bueno, ya
very
han perdido su
painful
salud mental y
that
están
have
en las
lost
calles
their
de todas las
mental
ciudades
health and
de
are on
Estados
the
Unidos.
streets of the United
¿Eh?
States.
Así que bastantes problemas
So
tienen ellos y
they
nadie los
have
atiende.
a lot of
Nadie habla de
problems
eso.
and no
Lo
one's
que quieren
speaking
hablar
about
de
this.
gobernar el
All
mundo.
of what they
Gobernar amenazando.
their main idea is to govern the
Ese
world
tiempo histórico tiene
and
que
launching
acabarse.
threats.
Así
That
que
historical moment
el
needs
sistema
to end.
defensivo que
The
estamos
defensive system we are
es lo que
building
decía,
is
tiene un-
what I was saying,
un diseño teórico
has
científico
have a
del mayor
theoretical
nivel del
design
mundo.
of the greatest
además
level
tiene
in the
oficiales
world and
con la
has
mayor preparación
officials with the greatest
académica,
preparation,
profesional,
academic,
científica y
professional,
moral
scientific
del
preparation,
mundo.
and moral
Pero
preparation of
además,
the world. But
si nosotros vemos a
also,
los generales
if we
y
see
almirantes,
the generals and
para
admirals,
hablar de generales y almirantes,
for
pero pudiera
speaking
hablar
about them,
de
I could
coroneles,
ask
tenientes
about
coroneles,
colonels,
capitanes de navío,
tenente colonels,
primeros
navy
tenientes,
colonels, first
capitanes,
lieutenants,
¿verdad? Mayores,
majors,
sargentos,
sergeants,
todos los sargentos del país,
all of the
soldados,
sergeants of the world, soldiers,
todos,
all of them
están
all of them
en las hurras.
are in the
Ustedes me dirán,
URRA.
¿qué es una
What
hurra? Porque
is
se
an
habla
URRA?
bastante.
Because it
No,
is
ya
very
activamos
mentioned.
una URRA.
We activated
Que hubo
an
un problema
URRA,
en tal sitio,
that
va una URRA
there
para
was
allá.
a problem
¿Sí?
and the
Mucha
URRA
gente
is
me
going there.
pregunta,
Many people
amistades
ask me,
mías,
friends of mine,
porque nosotros
because
visitamos,
we
¿verdad, Silita? Por
visited
ejemplo, el fin de
Braisilita
semana,
the
sábado y domingo
weekend.
estuvimos
We
visitando
Saturday and
amistades aquí en
Sunday we
Caracas.
were greeting and
Nos vamos a
visiting
visitar
friends of ours
y a
in
conversar. Bueno, a
Caracas.
mí siempre me ha
Go
gustado
there
eso,
to
siempre lo hago.
dialogue. I enjoy
Sábado
to
y
do
domingo.
so on Saturday and
Entonces la
Sundays.
gente, bueno,
So the
tú sabes que la
people,
gente,
you know,
me perdonen la palabra, en
and
este
forgive me
segmento,
for
es
this
jodedora.
word, jokes
Aquí la gente
around
tiene un
and
comentario
has a
y un
comment
chiste a
and
flor de
and
piel. Entonces sábado y domingo,
and
¿verdad? En la
on
noche,
Saturday and
Silvia.
Sunday, right
Nosotros no
at the
bebemos.
evening, we
Bueno,
do
¿qué
not
tomamos?
drink.
Chocolate caliente,
We drink
con
hot
quesito blanco
chocolate
adentro.
with cheese.
Yo no sé si hizo rasca, pues nosotros sábado
I
y
don't
domingo
know,
nos hemos
but
reído.
on Saturday and
Ah,
Sunday
Silita.
we laughed.
Mira, Ernesto, la
Look,
próxima te voy a
Ernesto,
invitar.
the next time
Mira,
I will
es que
invite you.
nos reímos.
We laughed so
El
much.
sábado
On Saturday,
yo me acosté temprano,
I
me acosté a la 1
went
de
to
la
bed
mañana
early at 1 a.m.
y dormí seguido
and I
8
slept
horas sin
for
parar.
8 hours
Y al otro día le dije a Cilia,
without
chama,
non-stop. And I said to
bestia, me
Celia,
acosté y me quedé
well,
dormido
I
directo.
fell asleep
¿Qué
right
será?
away. What
Quedamos
happened?
cansados de
We
qué,
we were
cansados de
tired,
reírnos,
but about what? Of
porque mira,
laughing.
disfrutamos.
Because
La
we
gente
really
tiene una
enjoyed.
creatividad,
People
¿no?
have such a great
ayer
creativity.
también,
And
¿verdad,
yesterday,
Domingo Hernández
on
Lares, ¿no?
Sunday,
Ayer. Entonces mucha gente en esas
many
conversaciones
people in these conversations
dicen,
said to me,
mira Nicolás, porque son mis
look,
panas, pues, yo
Nicolas,
visito
because
a
they are
familias,
friends
amigas
of
de muchos
mine.
años, los barrios.
I visit
Barrio
many long-time
Este,
friends.
Mira Nicolás, ¿qué es una burra,
Look,
vale?
Nicolas,
urra?
what
Me
is an
dijeron.
urra? What is that?
Entonces yo
And
le
I
dije,
said to
una
them,
burra
An urra
es una creación
is
genial
a genius
de
creation
la Comandancia
of
Estratégica
the
Operacional y de nuestras
Operational
Fuerzas Armadas,
Strategic
que es la
Command,
unión perfecta
which is the perfect
de la
union
capacidad
of the
militar de las
military
fuerzas
capacity
especiales,
of the special
de todas las
forces
fuerzas militares del
of
país,
all the military
de
forces
las
of the
fuerzas
country,
especiales
of the
policiales
special police
y
forces
de la milicia
and the
nacional.
national militia.
La urra es
The
el
urra
concepto
is
para que
the
lo anoten
concept
todo,
for you
porque yo sé que la gente
to
está
write it
pendiente.
down.
Unidad
Unity
de reacción
of reaction,
rápida.
of rapid reaction.
que hubo tal cosa en no sé dónde.
Something happened
Le
somewhere
ponemos una,
and
dos, tres,
we
cuatro urras. que
we
llegan
sent
con
to
todos
them
los hierros.
1, 2, 3
Pim, pum,
urras,
pa, a donde haya que llegar.
whatever
En
it
el
takes.
Orinoco, en
In
el
the Orinoco,
Amazonas,
in the Amazon,
en Falcón,
in
en el
Falcón,
Catatumbo,
in the Catatumbo
en La
region,
Guaira, donde
in
haya
La
que
Guaira,
llegar,
whatever.
una urra.
UNRWA. Those concepts were burned after the practice and the design. And the military forces of Latin America and the Caribbean that wants to know this initiative of our sister military forces of Colombia, we can offer them this initiative because they are very effective. The UNRWA, that is how we defeated the Ogedeon operation on May 3rd, 2020, when a group of mercenaries trained by Iván Duque with the narco trafficking of La Guajira, Colombian Guajira, with narco trafficking of Colombia, led by Iván Duque, former president of Colombia, came through the coast and pretended to disembark in La Guaira, Macuto, and afterwards the group of armed men with a group of cars prepared to go up and perpetrate a massacre and assault the Miraflores Palace in the Gideon. The one that reacted was UNRWA. It was the form of an immediate deployment. The one who put the eye was the people, the militia people, and saw and warned, and the UNRWA mobilized. So here it is one of the creators of La UNRWA. It's always good to explain the concept and the capacity. How is the deployment of the UNRWA today? Well, my commander, this was created, as you mentioned, thanks to the first deployment we performed in Venezuela, that it was with the training, the exercise Escudo Bolivariano. We fusioned that exercise, and it was so important, and the fusion of all of the participants, and it was all of the personnel, along with the citizenship, the fusion, the union, the armed forces, the militias. And according to the concept, the strategic military concept, we met with General-in-Chief Padrino Lopez to study the concept, and the 25th of every month we have the UNRWA as a group of strength and me and medias according to the necessity, and the command is also in accordance with the necessities. As you mentioned, there could be people from the communal circuits, also militias, according to the mission and the magnitude. Usually our generals of the sovereign people well compromised with the homeland, with their professional knowledge. We train them every week, and according to the mission they vary, and at the return that UNRWA dissolves itself. It's like a great callapa. And UNRWA, the whole personnel is there. A few moments ago we met. It is perfect, the perfect fusion. It is a good concept. There's everything according to the mission. If you go to the Chapacana, the civilian and fiscal and prosecutor, and they need to take a policeman, lawyers, according to the constitution, prosecutors, public defenders, ombudsmen, and we take everyone who needs according to the mission. The enemy, the land, meteorological conditions, the assigned task. First, we need to perform and study before and after, and at the moment of arriving there, we need to, according to the mission, we deploy. And if they're, for example, the most important one that we have active at this moment, that have launched great results, we discovered 6 anti-artillery campaments. I don't know if we have the videos of these pastilleros. Those videos are impressive. Those videos were sent by Fernandez Lares at the moment. It is all the territorial line, borderline. Personally, I have 4 years in a row fulfilling your orders on a daily basis. That's on the iCloud. Those on a daily basis we have deactivated several accompaniments linked to organized crime, narco trafficking, and we have 10,000 men and women organized, equipped, and trained, and with a temporary character. After a month, they are formed, organized. The example we mentioned yesterday, that have all this week operating there. Since they are going to the Delta, there are helicopters, reconnaissance airplanes, we have ships and transport ships and small ships, and when they get to the Delta, the canals are wider, but also we have indigenous people from the zones, and representatives of those indigenous peoples come with us as well, the leaders. Also there goes a prosecutor and environment prosecutor as well. They take advantage of our green spaces, our natural parks, and they penetrate that national territory, searching for ways to get inside this, like the half moon, and we periodically patrol there. At this moment we have 9 URRA, big unities of rapid reaction deployed, 9 big ones of 164 battlefronts at the moment, in which these squadrons of peace are activated, which are the coordinate. The dimensions, the maps are divided in parallels and meridians, and it is geo-referenced all the territory through this process, this system. And our idea through the militia and the orders you have given is that in every quadrant, every space, there is a representative of the armed forces and these rapid response units and the unity of the police, military and the people fusion. This is a capacity that we need to keep developing to defend the Venezuelan coast in any circumstance, always 24 hours a day, as we have. To defend all the borders from north to the south. And now, with the binational zones of peace, which are a blessing. And yesterday we had a meeting with the 4 governors. The video went viral. In spite that the videos banned me, those videos banned me, horrible. The video went viral of our ambassador, great man, strategist and geopolitical man, Martinez Mendoza, who was Minister of the Presidency of Commander Chavez, among other responsibilities. And I named him General of Division, and it was at the end of a 3-hour meeting we had yesterday at the bunker. And they went crazy at the bunker, at the center of the command. In one of the command centers and control, there were the 4 governors of the Half Moon, the governor of Zulia, great leader, Luis Caldera, governor of Táchira, the pacifist of El Táchira, the blessing, Freddy Alirios Freddy Bernal, the governor of Apure, great plain man, young man, Wilmer Rodriguez, with a lot of impetus, and the governor of the Amazon, the Venezuelan Amazon, Miguel Rodriguez. And we were reviewing the capacity of vigilance and patrol and action and combat there, and the URRAs, respective URRAs, the reinforcement here and there. The URRA need to have a capacity of action in every urban space of the nation, and needs to keep strengthening its action capacity at the north of the Orinoco, at the south, in the jungles in the border with Brazil,
todo el territorio,
all of the territory,
un territorio inexpugnable que decimos, ¿verdad?
and
Ayer
a
tuvimos
safe
la
territory.
primera jornada
Yesterday
de
we had the
alistamiento
first
a las
enlistment
personas que
day
están
to the people who
preocupadas
are
porque no se pudieron
worried
alistar
because they
por
couldn't
mil
be
razones,
able to, they
o porque
couldn't
llegaron y
enlist
había
themselves,
tremenda cola sábado
and
y
because of the
domingo.
long lines, the queues
Viernes
on Saturday and,
próximo, ahorita,
and
el
Sunday.
29,
Next Friday
sábado 30,
and next Saturday,
segunda jornada
there
de
is going to
alistamiento
be
nacional
taking place the second day
de
of national
Milicia
enlistment
Nacional
of militia, Bolivarian militia, reservoirs, and all of the citizens of the nation who want to participate
el sistema defensivo nacional,
in the
en la defensa de
national
la
defense
patria.
system
Tenemos un
for the
video,
defense
me
of the
dicen,
homeland.
que
We
está
have a
bien
video
bueno.
that is very good.
Vamos a ver el video
Let's
de
see
esta
the video
jornada
of this
histórica.
historical
Estamos
day.
escribiendo
We
historia
are
de la bella historia
writing
de la buena. Adelante,
a
video.
beautiful history.
Hemos sido partícipes y testigos de la participación activa del pueblo en toda nuestra Plaza Bolívar y en todas partes, manifestando su voluntad de alistarse, de ser parte del registro y control del alistamiento para la milicia bolivariana.
Hay un pueblo preparado, hay un pueblo guerrero, hay un pueblo digno para la defensa de la patria.
Nosotros tenemos que defender todo lo que nos ha costado construir en todos estos 26, 27 años de revolución. Nosotros tenemos que defenderlo como de lugar y apoyar y respaldar a nuestro único presidente Nicolás Maduro Moro.
Estudiante defiende la tierra con paso adelante. Alistado siempre.
La gente activada es algo impresionante. Es el llamado para defender nuestra patria.
Hemos inscrito para pertenecer a la milicia bolivariana. Vamos a defender nuestra patria con la vida si es posible.
Nicolás, cuenta con nosotros. El registro de aquellos compañeros que vienen por primera vez. La ratificación de lo que ya hemos estado registrados, preparándonos para de cualquier trinchera defender a esta patria.
Unidad cívico-militar popular para defender la patria. Y ante la agresión, junto a Nicolás Maduro, nosotros defendemos con dignidad y con fuerza nuestra soberanía.
La defensa, un escudo duro.
Ha sido un éxito total el inicio de esta jornada de reorganización dinámica de todas las fuerzas populares, militares, policiales del sistema defensivo. Continuamos en las plazas Bolívar principales de todos los municipios del país.
Estado siempre libres y leales contra la amenaza. Somos caudales de fuerza y coraje, de unión y de honor por nuestra Venezuela con todo valor.
Yo les voy a decir algo, bastante pueblo hay aquí para defender esta patria. ¡Carajo!
Ha sido impresionante la cantidad de hombres y mujeres que ha estado participando en esta convocatoria, en este llamado, y esto lo que hace es reafirmar lo que en las calles se escucha. Venezuela quiere paz, quiere estabilidad, Venezuela quiere progreso.
El pueblo se volcó a la calle. Aquí estamos alistándonos para defender nuestra patria, para defender nuestra soberanía y decirle al mundo que nosotros somos libres y soberanos.
Aquí presentes para defender nuestra unidad y nuestro proyecto de vida.
Nosotros no tenemos miedo a ningún imperio norteamericano, ningún imperio del mundo. Nosotros somos un país libre, soberano, independiente, hijos de Bolívar, hijos de Chávez. Estamos en perfecta unión cívico-militar mandando un mensaje claro. Se meten con Nicolás, se mete con el pueblo de Venezuela. Ya basta de agresiones, ya basta de sanciones. Incluso no han comprendido ni han entendido que no importa las sanciones y agresiones que hagan. No van a poder con el pueblo de Venezuela.
Somos gente de paz, pero que no se equivoque, porque estamos preparados también para defender nuestra patria, para defender nuestra constitución, para defender a nuestro presidente Nicolás Maduro.
Estoy seguro que esto no termina aquí. Domingo 24 es un asunto que va a continuar los próximos fines de semana. Es imposible que podamos registrar el alma y el sentimiento popular en solamente 2 días.
Que sepa escuchar la voz de un pueblo que no va a doblar.
Se le aguan los ojos a uno.
I get very emotional.
Es impresionante.
It is impressive.
No es un hombre.
It's not a man.
Señores imperialistas,
imperial man,
fascista,
fascist criminals.
No es un hombre.
It is not a a
No es
man.
Maduro,
It is not Maduro.
es un pueblo.
It's a people.
Son millones.
We are millions.
Son millones.
We are millions.
Son millones
We are millions
de hombres y mujeres de a
of
pie.
women and men, of common people.
Porque es que si tú
Because
llamas,
if
mira,
you call
en la Plaza Bolívar van a
In the
regalar
Bolivar
unos
Square,
perniles.
they're going to be
No es que está
gifting
convocando
food. We don't need
con seriedad
to call. We are calling
y firmeza
with
al pueblo a la
seriousness and
defensa de la
firmness
patria.
for the
Y
people to
tiene
defend the homeland.
convocatoria y credibilidad
And we
nuestra
have a
palabra,
credibility. Our word has credibility and
porque es la palabra de la
power of
patria.
call.
No es Maduro.
It is
es la
not Maduro,
patria.
it's the homeland.
Maduro cumple su
Maduro
papel
is fulfilling its role
y lo seguirá cumpliendo.
and is going to keep fulfilling its
El
role, his
juramento que
role.
hice
The
frente al
swear
gigante,
I did in the face
lo que he hecho es
before the
cumplirse
giant,
y
I
se seguirá
have
cumpliendo. Porque
fulfilled
juramos
it.
todos, ¿tú te
Because
acuerdas,
all of
verdad?
us swear.
Chávez, te lo juro.
Chavez, I
¿Verdad?
swear
¿Te
to you.
acuerdas?
Do you remember?
Y Chávez, te lo juro,
And Chavez, I
pasó
swear to you.
en esta historia
And
hermosa en
that
donde, mira, vamos
it is
despuntando en el
translated
siglo
in
XXI.
which we are
No hay amenaza.
we are moving forward
ha
in the
nacido la
21st
persona
century. There
que
is
pueda
no threat,
acabar
no
con el
one
sueño
who
de
can
Bolívar,
defeat the
con el legado
dream
de Chávez.
of Bolivar
No
and the
ha
legacy of
nacido
Chavez.
sobre la tierra.
It hasn't been born yet.
Venezuela
Venezuela is
destinada
destined
a ser historia de la
to
grande del siglo
be
XXI. Y
the
Venezuela
greatest history of the 21st century, and Venezuela has the blessing of God to triumph.
Lo que viene para nosotros
What
es
comes for
triunfo,
us is triumph,
triunfo y más
triumph
triunfo
and
de la
more
paz, de
triumph
la
of
soberanía,
peace, of
de la unión
sovereignty,
nacional.
of the national
Y
union.
bueno, aquí está
And well,
Romero Bolívar.
Here it is, Romero Bolívar.
¿Tú eres de dónde?
Where are you from? I'm from here, Caracas, from the San Juan parish. I'm here from Caracas, from San Juan.
Claro.
In the There I was born and raised, and I'm still here. And I'm called Orlandito, and I studied
Bueno, imagínate,
in
un
Orlando.
muchacho
Well,
de las
imagine
comunidades
a
caraqueñas.
young boy
¿Qué año
from the
naciste tú?
from the Caracas communes in 1971 on
casi te llevo
September
9 años.
18th. So I almost
Yo, ahí me decían Nico.
I have 90. I'm
Yo
near.
soy por
I'm
aquí, yo
9
nací,
years older than you. I was called
Era la parroquia Santa
Nico.
Rosalía.
in the Santa Rosalia
Y
parish,
era la urbanización
and
San
it
Pedro.
was the urbanization San Pedro in the
Al
San
frente de
Pedro
la iglesia
Church,
San Pedro,
in
segundo
front
piso,
of the San Pedro
apartamento
Church, in the
número 8.
second
Nuestro teléfono era,
floor, apartment
el
8.
era 618381.
61831 was our
Después,
telephone
cuando
number, and
cambiaron los
afterwards,
códigos,
when the codes
era
changed, it was
662-6427.
662-6427.
A ese teléfono me llamaba Silita todos
That's
los días.
the number in to which
662-6427.
Silita called me every day. I'm from here, Caracas.
Esa urbanización ahí,
That urbanization
Romero Bolívar,
of
era clase
Romero
media,
Bolívar was of middle
clase
class,
media popular.
popular middle
Pero
class,
siempre,
but
desde muy
always
joven,
since I was very
jugando
early
béisbol.
playing baseball.
Mira, me llegó una foto hoy,
Well, I
lo que es
received
la vida.
a picture today.
Se las voy a mostrar.
I'm
Esta
going to
foto no se
show you
conoce.
to show it to you. This is
Esta foto que
an
tengo aquí,
unknown picture
me la
that
mandó
I
un
have
sobrino.
that was
Yo la
sent
estaba
by a
buscando hace
nephew
tiempo.
that I was searching for it a long
Es la
time
foto cuando
ago
tenía 11 años,
when I
con
was
mi
11
papá,
years
que
old
se llamaba
with
también
my
Nicolás
dad
Maduro,
that also
Nicolás
was
de Jesús
called
Maduro
Nicolás
García,
de Jesús Maduro
con mi
Garcia,
papá
with my dad
en Fuerte Tiuna.
in Fuerte Tiuna.
Ahí, aquí queda la Huésped y aquí
There,
quedaba al frente de la Huésped
in front of
un
La
pequeño
Huésped,
estadio.
in a small
liga se llamaba
stadium. The
Forestales.
league was
Y yo
called
tenía 11 años, yo
Forestales,
era
and I was
catcher en esa
11 years
época.
old. I was a
Y esta
catcher,
foto la recuerdo
and
porque
I
salió en
remember
la
this
prensa, en
picture
una
because
prensa que
it
sacaba
was
de una
released at
CBS,
at a newspaper
Corporación Venezolana
in
de
a
Fomento, atrás se ven los
corporation.
bloques del Valle.
There,
Mira,
behind, you
aquí
can
está
see
con mi
the Los
papá.
Valles blocks. I was next to
Este
my
soy yo,
dad, and
este
this
es
is
Nico,
me.
11
This is
años.
Nico, 11 years old.
11 años,
11 years old.
11 años. Mira, ¿por qué tengo el pie así? Porque
Why do
yo
I have
calzaba
my leg
42.
like that? I
Mi papá
used
medía
42
1.82. Yo ahí ya medía
on
1 casi
shoes,
80.
and I
11
always
años, era catcher.
I almost
Después me volví
measured
pitcher.
there 180 meters, and then I became pitcher, and we grew up in Caracas. And precisely afterwards, always linked to the neighborhoods. So I feel myself very identified with that city in which we were born and raised. As a Major General, I'm in front of the national militia of the people in arms, and you have lived an exceptional experience that I called a dynamic reorganization of what we already have. We are not inventing anything. Enlistment and no. We are enlisting a country with a system, and everyone will have their territory, their mission, and their arm. What can you tell, Romero? Well, above all, I want to thank God for the opportunity you gave us, the trust you gave us to fulfilling this responsibility that is to move forward the people in arms. And we have seen in these beautiful days of the weekend, our idiosyncrasy remains intact because we have the genes of that generation that has been constructing in the historical block of the homeland, the Bolivarian bloc, the struggles we have carried out. And as you know, we were not gifted anything in this homeland. There's a lot of blood of 4 generations that had this responsibility, and this generation now has the duty to defend. And the dark path, dark side of the nation, for example, the death of our liberator, the treason against Cipriano Castro, also. We are facing a moment of loyalty, and this call was not to taking arms, but fulfilling a compromise for the defense of that thing that we love the most, which is our homeland. We are not a worrying people. We are not searching for conflicts, but we do not bend our knees in the face of any threats, and we do not bend our knees in the face of any aggression. We have every signing, every inscription of every Venezuelan. We're saying that this is a dignified people that respect in order to receive respect as well, to defend this beautiful territory named Venezuela. Now, this call has been for the enlistment, and we need to search the concept, the exact number. This concept, I learned this from Chavez, Chavista learning. Chavez loved the exact word and the exact concept, because the whole process. In this whole process, we have built up a system that has the country at peace. We have managed to acquire the most safe environment in decades for Venezuela. We have the military power, most powerful military system in centuries. We never managed to build up a balance between the military power, the police power, and the people's power. And also, as always, just insists in every meeting, this is coordinated and united. We have never had this power before. Venezuela makes itself to be respected because it has the power. To the cowards and to the traitors and to those cowards, they are not respected by anyone. And that power is in the midst of a process of reorganization, dynamic reorganization, of readaptation, because of the circumstances that force us to be this way. And this message to all of the officials of the Bolivarian Armed Forces, it is a process of dynamic reorganization of all the arms system, of all of the strength capacities, and of all of the process of perfect fusion with the people, of perfect fusion with the military forces, of all of the power of fire of the Republic, in the seas, in rivers, in the mountains, in the cities, in the neighborhoods, in the territories, along our territory. We are growing in the concept, and as the concept is correct, impacts into the capacity of action and the reality, and is constituting a body, the body of the nation. Without a doubt, the impact is going to have the impact that is having what happened on Saturday and Sunday is on the making. National impact, social, psychological, international impact. We cannot wait. Never, ever. Nothing favorable from the U.S. imperialism. You need to remind us. You can never wait for nothing, not even a guise. And I said, like Che Guevara, imperialism, must not believe, not even a tiny bit. And Venezuela is watching due to the double wealthiness we have, the wealthiness of our oil and gas and iron and gold and coltan, of the waters of the lands, of the geographical location, and material wealthiness, we could say. But they come from the major wealthiness, which is our spirit, because we are the land of the liberators, the birthplace, the most beautiful birthplace of liberators, women and men of Latin America. And the giant, Hugo Chavez, resuscitated Bolivar. And how beautiful, the videos with artificial intelligence are making. And I pick up some of them over there and I published on my social medias. But it is a great creation. You can see Bolivar, Huacaipuro, Ezequiel Zamora, Manuel Sáez, Cipriano Castro, Aquiles Nazoa, José Gregorio Hernández. All of them. Do you have it there? Which one do you have there? Please play the one that has it all. A people that loves the freedom will be free. Today, the freedom will be defended with your voice and presence. I myself enlist. I defended Bolivar because he defended liberty. Today, defend your homeland. Unite with us. God calls me to defend my homeland with love and courage. I enlist myself. Culture, agriculture people, I believe in the creation, power of the people. I do not remain at home because to combat I will go. Master, teachers, let's go to defend the peace of the country. Venezuelans will carry the triumph and peace on our genes. To educate is above all to form a conscience of peace. If I were to born 1,000 times, 1,000 times I will fight it. Do the same. When they try to attack us, we raise our flag. Today is your turn to rise it. Well, congratulations, and I congratulate the people, the armed forces, the militia, national militia. It is not the work of a man. It's a people. They couldn't and will never defeat the homeland of Bolivar. Let's move on to the communal economy segment, Communals in Action.